Oh my god. Where'd this music come from? That wasn't part of the mix. It's Mortal Kombat! Holy crap. Alright, let's... Oh, Jesus. Let's start the show. What's going on, everybody? Episode 70. What the hell? Oh, it's the fucking YouTube... Alright, there we go. Everything's going crazy. I still gotta get used to this whole Saturday shtick. What's going on, everybody? Smells Like Wrasslin, episode 70. Another episode of Collision in the Books, episode 2. And I gotta say, I'm loving this Collision show, man. I'm absolutely loving it. Where did I put my... You gotta be kidding me. Alright, hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, Jesus. All right, good. There's no way I'm not gonna get through this without water. I'm gonna fucking die. Anywho, I'm loving this Collision show, guys. I'm absolutely loving it. I like the feel. I like the presentation. I like the little like prologue to the main event that they do before the show with the two main factions. It kind of reminds me of kind of what they do on Rampage, where, you know, like it's time for the main event kind of deal. But like just Collision's own spin to it. Love it. Love the stage. I love the atmosphere. I love that it's different commentary. It feels like a different show, and it still feels important. It doesn't feel like Rampage. Like significant stuff is going on. Like obviously there's stuff going on with Andrade and the House of Black. This is most likely going to lead to Andrade forming some sort of trio, and then I'm assuming going for a run at the trios titles, and this is the team that beats House of Black finally for the trios titles, because trios division is, I mean, I was super excited for it, as most of you guys know who watched the show. So the fact that it's kind of cooled off, it disappoints me. It disappoints me. So I'm feeling like now there's a resurgence of the trios division. There's plenty of television time to do it, so you could showcase that. I'm loving it. I've 100% turned the corner on the Guns. I remember in the beginning I fucking hated them, and then as they started becoming like the Ass Boys with Danhausen, I was assuming that, you know, like now they were coming like funny and they were interesting. But I gotta say, like, when they won the tag belts, I was like, the fuck? Like, what's going on? Like, it didn't feel like, I don't know, just feel like it came out of nowhere. It didn't feel like, I don't know, like, it just didn't fit them, it felt like. And, but the Dynamite at UBS, the last one that was on Long Island when they fought FTR for the belts and lost, I just felt the presentation that they had with that entrance was awesome. They've managed to now kind of like find that swagger, find that, like, I feel like the entrance kind of like sealed the deal, and now they could kind of just like curtail like their like personalities. Like if that was already their personalities, that was a fantastic showcase for it. I like the fact that the whole like shooting the water out with the guns thing. Like the first time it was only one of the brothers that did it, but now both of them are doing it. So I like the spotlight. I like the circle around. It's just awesome. I dig it. I love their music. It's just really, it's just funky, and I like it. I'm totally all about the Guns. I really like them a lot. They're a great addition to the tag team, to the tag team division. They're only going to go on and do bigger and better things as things go on. You know, a lot of people talk about the pillars of AEW, but those are really like the singles pillars. You know what I mean? Like, what about like the foundations of like the actual tag team division? Lucha Brothers were brought in right off the bat. Young Bucks were, obviously, Young Bucks, I wouldn't say are like pillars in terms of like young talent, but they are the ones that they are like a cornerstone, the foundation of that tag team division. FTR also. But then you have like these young tag teams that are coming in, like Top Flight, like the Acclaimed, like the Guns. And, that tag team division is looking pretty bright. It's the trios division right now that, there aren't very many trios teams. So it's usually like a belt for like mini factions, like the Jericho Appreciation Society is like 5-6 members. Like that's a faction, But, House of Black, technically they're a faction because, Julia Hart is an active wrestler on the women's roster and she's a part of that faction or whatever. But like the men, there's only like 3 of the men. So they have that trio. So, but yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, man. I was watching SmackDown because I was, again, interested in the Bloodline storyline. I wanted to see what was going on with Jimmy and Jay and how they were going to set up Money in the Bank. I liked how, they gave LA Knight a spotlight. Like LA Knight is I'm telling you, man, like they got to make him the guy to win Money in the Bank. Like, don't be typical WWE and just dangling and just keep on dangling it until like we're so like, get on with it. We're like, forget about it. You know what I mean? Like that's what ends up happening. I feel like they just don't pull the trigger fast enough. They just elongate it. But like, that's just more of my opinion of how they just tread water when it comes to storytelling. You know what I mean? Like they're not out there swimming forward. They're kind of staying around, seeing what's going on, doing this. And then there we go. But by that time by the time they've done that, the crowd is tired of treading water. Like they don't want to care anymore. So I'm hoping that they pull the trigger on LA Knight. And they do it at Money in the Bank. I do hope, and then I have to hope that he has a successful cash-in, which leads to a successful reign. So, if that's the case, and LA Knight wins, Money in the Bank, then technically, if he has a year to cash in the belt, and I don't think Rollins is dropping it any to the ring, the crowd just, the crowd loves it, man. They love the gimmick. Now, I know a lot of people are just like, he's kind of like The Rock and he's kind of like Stone Cold. And that's like, yeah, but in part, so is everybody fucking else. I mean, Kevin Owens is doing the fucking stunner. You know what I mean? Ricky Starks, he gets comparisons to The Rock all the time. They call him Little Rock. So, like, if a guy comes out with a chain and he's well-dressed and he's got silk shirts, they're immediately going to think it was The Rock. The Rock might have had showcased that look first, but he doesn't own it. You know what I mean? The Rock was more than, The Rock had his catchphrases or whatever, but he's had his own version of swagger and style and bravado, and that's what the rest of these guys have. So, like, LA Knight, he's got that swagger, you know what I mean? Like, he's found a catchphrase that resonates with the audience. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it's catchy. The crowd loves it. Every single time he's stomping someone, in the, in the corner. Yeah, you know what I mean? Let me talk to you. Him doing the L.A. Knight. That's it. Look what's going on with Rollins. I mean, that song, honestly, has kept... If he didn't have that song, I don't think he would have a lot of the opportunities he would have right now because it's not just about the wrestling to Vince, it's about the presentation. You know what I mean? And that song, people sing it. It's a good visual. It's all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, they set up the production of the show to highlight the crowd doing it. Rollins does that. It's all about gaining heat and gaining momentum and gaining all that shit. So, LA Knight has his own thing. Yes, it's reminiscent of both The Rock and Stone Cold, but it's not The Rock and Stone Cold. It's fucking LA Knight. My only hope is they bring back the dummy button, that he had when he was in Impact as Eli Drake. Dummy, yeah. Like, that, I would love that. That'd be phenomenal. Because everyone else has a hokey talk show. His talk show was like, what was it called? Fact of Life. You know what I mean? I guess you can't say Facts of Life because that was a show and that's copyright or whatever, but Fact of Life. And he had the dummy button. They could do anything like that, but just put the dummy button back. It's a funny thing. It would be on shirts. People would chant it. That's all Vince wants. The guy's built like an action figure. Just do it. You know what I mean? Logan Paul doesn't need to win any titles. You know what I mean? It's definitely not going to be Ricochet because Ricochet's like the Rey Mysterio of right now. He'll win all mid-card titles. They're never going to give a big, like a big-time title. Santos Escobar, get real. I love Santos Escobar. Don't get me wrong. I'm just letting you know, in Vince world, a guy like Santos Escobar is not going to get the push. So, I forgot who the fuck else is in that match, honestly. But LA Knight's like, it's LA Knight or Logan Paul, in my opinion. Who wins the Bloodline Civil War? I'm not sure. You know, Roman's supposed to have this belt until Mania of next year. So it would make sense if he still managed to come out on top. You know, I feel like the story should be Roman comes out on top all the time, whether it's a singles match or a tag match. I mean, Solo is there to take the pin, so it is possible. It is possible to have Roman lose without losing, but I still kind of have this feeling it's going to be Roman and Solo. Who knows? Maybe they add another member to the bloodline, you know, and they just bring in backup. You know, like there's always going to be something like Roman is going to have that belt. Listen to me, people. Roman's going to have that belt until next year. That's every week on Raw and SmackDown. Do not expect there to be any title change from now until next year. So that's every Raw, every SmackDown, every Premium Live event, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank, all that shit. He's just going to keep winning. So technically, the only thing to keep this going would be to have Roman win, and then the Usos are just still trying to get one up on him. And then when the odds are so overly stacked against Roman, then you have the Usos pull it off. You know what I mean? Maybe they do a War Games match, and they do another Civil War thing, and the Usos enlist the help. Watch, the Usos enlist the help of Sammy and Kevin and one other guy who, like, Roman doesn't get along with. Maybe like a Matt Riddle, a guy who can't even challenge for the title again. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a lot of things that, you know, they're going to fill this shit up. Like, that could be the match for Survivor Series. That could be the War Games match. You know what I mean? Survivor Series is what? Going to happen in the fall? Or just about to hit, you know, like the middle of summer? It could happen. It could 100% happen. So, but, I mean, LA Knight, like, that's the guy. They, you know, like, they have to do it. Anywho, so, let's go on to, the live results from Collision. Oh, what? I mean, do we want to talk about Rampage? Right? I guess we can. Let's see. I mean, I guess the only real thing noteworthy on Rampage was that John Morrison is signed with AEW. He's now Johnny TV. He attacks Billy Gunn, and it looks like he's joined up with QTV. So he's with QT Marshall, and what the hell is his name? Aaron Solo? Is that his name? I think. These there. And Sky Blue defeats Anna Jay and moves on in the Owen Hart tournament. She will face the winner of Britt Baker and Ruby Soho. I could only I mean, obviously there's some interest growing in Sky Blue, being that they're showcasing her more. I mean, she is one of the young female talents there. She has a good, strong home base in Chicago. You know, it's obviously she has a following of fans that show up to the shows and online. So I could see them, you know, obviously I don't see Sky Blue like advancing to the end of the tournament. I'd be shocked if she did, but I could see her like, you know, taking whoever she's going to face in the second round to the limit and then ultimately losing to them. Maybe she'll be an eventual contender for like a TBS title or an AEW women's title at a certain point in time. They'll make a big deal out of it. Obviously she won't win. She's super green. She has a lot of she has to work on her character. She has to work on her microphone skills. Like, there are a lot more things in just being popular than, you know, going into getting a push. You know, you have to sustain that push. And that's when they put a mic in your hand, they go sell yourself. And you're like, oh, well, no. Then that's when all that interest is like, this is not working out. You know what I mean? You have to, at the end of the day, if you're a wrestler and you have fans supporting you, you do have to, like, it is like a give and take thing. You do have to reward the fans for their support by actually like performing and living up to at least some of their expectations. You know what I mean? So if they're giving her this push, they give her a mic and she sucks, or they put her in a big main event match and she just keeps botching and she's too nervous, then, you know, like the fans, it's not going to be like a turn on her kind of thing. They're just going to move on, you know? So I don't think she's ready yet, but it's obvious that they're doing some beta tests on her and seeing what's going on. So let's talk about the results from tonight on Collision. Very, very, very straightforward show, but an awesome show. Starts off, let's see. Let me see my notes. Here we go. So, the show starts off with Tony Schiavone. He's in the ring. They welcome out Darby Allin and Sting. So they play their music, but it's actually no. So they say Darby Allin and Sting are going to come out to announce the the third man for their group. So Schiavone goes, here comes Darby Allin, and he's about to say it's Sting, but Jericho's music hits. Jericho comes out. He comes out with Minoru Suzuki. No Sammy Guevara. They said they were kind of, they acted all pissed off about Sting and Darby making them wait to find out who the third man is. They found out that, they let us know that Sammy wasn't there because he was a little bit upset at how close Jericho and Suzuki were getting along. And they had a best friend handshake and all that shit, and they're calling themselves the Suzuki Gods. And basically, Jericho ends up revealing that Schiavone actually knows who the third man is, but he's keeping the secret for Sting and Darby. So Jericho is in the midst of about to strong-arm Schiavone into saying who is the third man, and then Sting and Darby Allin come out, and they say, what was it? They said basically, Darby goes and looks at the camera. He says maybe Sammy's got his common sense kicking in, being that he's not he didn't show up on Collision, but if he does show up at Forbidden Door, that Darby was gonna whoop his ass. Darby goes to Jericho, and he's just like, the partner they picked has kicked your ass too, and it's kicked your ass at the Tokyo Dome, and fucking Naito's music hits, and I fucking lost my shit. I popped like a motherfucker. Naito's awesome. So Naito is the third man. Obviously, this harkens back to Naito and Jericho fighting at the Tokyo Dome for the IWGP Intercontinental title, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think Naito won and beat Jericho for it. So it's going to be... And I honestly thought that they were going to trick me and it was going to be Shingo Takagi again and they were going to reform Dudes with Attitudes. But I was very, very happily surprised. So it's going to be Tetsuya Naito, Darby Allin, and Sting versus Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Minoru Suzuki in a trios match. That's going to be a fantastic, fantastic match. We have a video package recapping Miro and him beating Tony Nese's ass last week. They cut to a video package of him in the back. He talks about how he was exiled for a year. He was summoned back. He said he walked alone and he's going to kneel to no man. He's renounced his God and he's renounced his wife and now he's godless. So it's Miro. He's no longer redeemed. He doesn't give a fuck about God or his flexible wife. It's only going to be about him. To be honest, I mean, they really should bring Lana or CJ Perry in and make it a part of Miro's gimmick. I know it. Miro knows it. I'm pretty sure CJ Perry knows it, and I'm pretty sure Tony Khan knows it, that the second they pair CJ Perry back up with Miro, you're going to want to put a title on him. Because Miro is awesome, and Lana is awesome, and she's smoking hot, and she's great to put aside Miro, and everyone wants it, so just make it fucking happen. You know what I mean? I don't want her to wrestle. She should just be his manager or his valet. That's fucking it. I repeat, I do not want to see her wrestle. I just want to see her be his manager or valet. I think the crowd wants it. I think it'd be awesome. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeats Swerve Strickland in the opening match. Not going to lie, Tanahashi looked rough. It looks like MJF is going to probably have to carry Tanahashi. I mean, his body he is working really, really, not like stiff as in he's hurting people, but you could tell that he is just not as flexible as he used to be. So, but Strickland's an amazing talent. They still had a solid match. At the end of the day, Tanahashi's Tanahashi. So, it ends up with Tanahashi coming away with the victory. MJF's music played. He shows up on a television screen. He said he wasn't going to actually be there to watch Tanahashi's match. He said he's going to embarrass him at Forbidden Door. He said he had a discussion with Tony Khan, and their match would be first at Forbidden Door. So it's going to be MJF versus Tanahashi, the opening match at Forbidden Door. He said the reason why that is because he did not want to sit through any more of the indie jabronis that he had to. So he just wants to wrestle his match and get the fuck out. And he said that Tanahashi was not on the level of the devil, which is obviously MJF's new catchphrase. Andrade El Idolo, which Kevin Kelly was able to pronounce his name correctly, defeats Brody King, but it was by disqualification. It was Buddy Matthews with interference at the end, jumping into the ring and beating up Andrade. It's Andrade and Brody lay out. Brody and Buddy lay out Andrade at the end of the match. Fantastic match, by the way. Fantastic match. I mean, Brody King is a phenomenal talent. He's a great big man. And Andrade, he's big enough that like he could do big man things, but he's still got that lucha style, so he still does that high flying stuff. It looks like he's doing a lot more odes to Charlotte and Rick in his repertoire. He does the kickflip just like Charlotte does. He's doing the figure eight just like Charlotte does, and the figure four just like Ric Flair. So it does look like they're going to start setting up some sort of feud with Andrade. I mean, I could only assume that the next time the next match he's going to have is probably going to be with Malachi, and he's not going to win that. I think he's probably not going to win that one either, or maybe he will win, but he'll have help with other people, and that win will be his ticket to take those two other guys for a trios match for the titles. So it's a very strong possibility that could happen, but great match. I feel like they got a lot of time. I felt like I got to see all the meaningful stuff while it wasn't in picture. So I do feel like Collision is a little bit better produced in terms of like, I'll just tune out in the commercial breaks, and the second the action is back, like the action's back and they have the in-ring action booked up pretty incredible. So the bell-to-bell stuff in AEW right now is solid, really solid. The storylines, obviously, on Collision are starting to slowly form. I mean, right now, Collision is technically a variety show. Aside from certain things like the storyline that's going on with Andrade and House of Black, and the storyline that's going on with CM Punk and Bullet Club Gold and FTR and the Guns, there's not too many storylines happening, but it's starting to get there. So Collision obviously is picking up steam. A lot of things are going to happen at Forbidden Door that could catapult both Dynamite and Collision, so very interested to see how all this plays out going forward. It is worth mentioning that AEW in general doesn't do disqualifications much, so I thought this was obviously a clever usage of it. You don't want to have Andrade single-handedly beating all of your trios champions, but you obviously are setting him up for something big, so the way that they booked this I thought was pretty nifty. What I will say about AEW is they don't often put themselves into positions where the only way out is a DQ. You know what I mean? They don't book themselves into those kind of corners like the WWE tends to do. Let's see. In the ring, Tony Schiavone. Okay, so Tony Schiavone comes out, TNT champion, Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. I'm loving this. I don't know why, but I am. Christian Cage comes out. He's holding the belt. He keeps talking about how he's the champion. He always has to remember to refer to Luchasaurus. He said that there was going to be no open challenge. He ran down Toronto, said they sucked. Said the Maple Leafs sucked. It was phenomenal. And as an Islanders fan, yeah, absolutely, the Maple Leafs suck. Fuck the Maple Leafs. So that's pretty much it. The going gimmick is that Christian is going to continue to present himself as the TNT champion, even though it was Luchasaurus that did it. And Luchasaurus can be the guy to continuously defend the TNT title. And it's possible that Christian Cage is going to take credit for every single time he cheats to help Luchasaurus win and hold on to the belt, which is going to be why he's holding on to his claim to fame. And that's pretty much it. So I don't know if this is leading to a face turn with Luchasaurus. I don't know what's going on, but Christian Cage on my television is awesome. He's a phenomenal character. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. And that's pretty much it. He works better. I'm telling you, he works better in the ring than I feel Tanahashi does in terms of his health and the flexibility. They do a rundown of the bracket for the Owen Hart tournament. CM Punk and Satoshi Kojima are going to kick off the tournament at Forbidden Door. 3 other matches are going to take place next week on Collision. So the match between Powerhouse Hobbs and Dustin Rhodes is going to happen. The match between Roderick Strong and Samoa Joe is going to happen, and the match between Juice Robinson and Ricky Starks is going to happen. That's going to be 3 of the matches on Collision next week. That card looks awesome. Awesome. Collision is great. The matches are awesome. Stuff matters. It's about main storylines, so it's like a big fucking deal. Give me a second. Hold on. Of course, it's Allie interrupting the show. She's the only person who can and get away with it. Okay, good. Anywho, so we get a Owen Hart Foundation 2023 women's quarterfinal match. Willow Nightingale versus Nyla Rose, in which Willow Nightingale defeats Nyla Rose to move on in the tournament. It was an okay match. Like, I mean, I say this all the time. I'm not the greatest fan of Willow's gimmick. Obviously, if Mercedes Moné didn't get injured, a lot of things would be different, and it's possible we could be seeing Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, on television. It was a solid match. I'm not sure how far Willow's going to go in the tournament. I can only assume she'll probably go as far as right before the finals, and that could be it. Or who knows? She might go all the way to the finals. I'm not too sure. After the match, the Outcasts come to the ring, because it's going to be Willow Nightingale versus Toni Storm at Forbidden Door. Sky Blue comes out to the ring. Poor Sky Blue, she's so short, and she tried to jump sliding into the ring while holding onto the chair, but the fucking chair, when it's folded, is like half her size. So it's like she tried to jump into the ring with the chair, and she ended up, like, as she went into the ring, like, the edge of the apron, like, hit her knees, and she kind of just, like, stopped and had to, like, scramble her way in. So that was kind of funny. So I would definitely probably maybe have her run in with a kendo stick the next time, or a billy club, or maybe some brass knucks. Something that's, I don't know, not half her weight and 3/4 her size. Backstage, Lexi Nair was talking with Scorpio Sky. Obviously, they're repacking Scorpio Sky. I mean, listen, Scorpio Sky is great. He deserved better than what he got in his first 2 TNT title runs. I mean, he was part of SoCal Uncensored, which were the first AEW tag team champions. Then he was I liked him with Ethan Page. I thought Men of the Year as a tag team was awesome. I honestly thought they should have gotten some sort of run with the belts, but they were too busy showcasing like the main big tag teams like Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks, and they were doing stuff with the Elite. So I feel like they never got a fair shake in the tag division. I felt like they could have gone a little bit further. They're 2 great personalities, and the music they had was awesome. But it wasn't meant to be. So now Ethan Page is with Matt Hardy right now. They're trying to repackage him as a face. They have Scorpio Sky. It obviously looks like he could possibly be repackaged as a heel. So who knows? Maybe these 2 guys are on a collision course, no pun intended, and they end up fighting one another. But they're 2 great talents in AEW, and they should be fighting one another. I think they complement each other great as a team. They should be able to complement each other in the ring. She's too funny. We have Powerhouse Hobbs. His entrance was awesome. I mean, I fucking love Powerhouse Hobbs, man. Like, I really, him with the TNT title was awesome. I just kind of wish he would have had it longer, especially since they gave it to Wardlow, and Wardlow didn't even hold on to it for that very long. So, it's whatever. Powerhouse Hobbs, he comes out solo. No members of a QTV in sight. He beats the shit out of this jobber. That was pretty much it. It was just a squash match to obviously showcase Hobbs. I mean, we all kind of know Ricky Starks. I guess we're being reintroduced to Hobbs because it's been a while since we've seen him, I feel like, on television. They give us the rundown of next week's Collision card. It's the Owens Hart Tournament quarterfinals. Hobbs, Dustin Rhodes, Samoa Joe, Roderick Strong, which is going to be the fucking match of the night, I think. Ricky Starks versus Juice Robinson, which could also be match of the night. And MJF is going to have his in-ring Collision debut. Who he's going to be fighting, I have no fucking idea. This was, all right, main event match, which I held off on talking about any of this until the end because I know it was probably going to dominate a lot of the conversation, and more than likely I was going to go off on 1,000 tangents, so what better way to end the show than this? Jay White, Juice Robinson, and the Guns defeat CM Punk, FTR, and Ricky Starks. Number one in terms of a match, of an 8-man tag. This was a fucking phenomenal 8-man tag. This was an absolutely fantastic main event. This was another great ending to a Collision. Collision's off to a great start. Having said all of that, I have no complaints about the match whatsoever. I highly recommend it. I'm not really a guy who does like play-by-play in terms of like the show. I just like to talk about the show. So my recommendation is watch the match. It was fucking awesome. Obviously skip all the stuff that happens in the picture-in-picture, but all the good stuff happened on TV, people. It was a great, fantastic match. This show was in Canada. Last week's show was in Chicago. Chicago is Punk country. Ain't no way Punk gonna get drowned out with booze in Chicago. Now they're in Toronto, in Canada. All right? The home country of one Kenny Omega. And this crowd let Punk have it. That is not to say that there wasn't any Punk cheers, because you could definitely hear the Punk cheers. They were not completely and totally drowned out. You could still hear them. But as the show went on, those boos got louder and louder and louder and louder. Whoever was quiet and on the fence and didn't like Punk, they were further emboldened by how many boos there were. This is going to be very interesting going forward in every single city that AEW goes to and Punk's on the show in front of a live audience. Is this crowd for Punk or against Punk? Is this crowd willing to accept? Well, Punk necessarily didn't apologize. He basically ran down the people who thought they were owed an apology. So, if there was any, like non-goodwill towards Punk that could have been smoothed over with an apology, that shit ain't happening. All right? And you could tell he's getting off on this shit. He fucking loves it. So, now he's reveling in it, which is even more incendiary. So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. And hey, listen, there's a very vocal section of fans who are not fans of the Bucks, not fans of Kenny Omega, not fans of the Elite in general. They blame Hangman for all the stuff that went down at All Out. They blame guys like the Bucks for holding down tag teams like FTR. They blame guys like Kenny Omega who were involved in that scrum. It's pretty interesting. But you know what? It brings eyes to the product. Every single time Punk's on TV, people might just be like, "Hey, I wonder what the crowd's going to be like this time." For Tony Khan, he's counting that money. Super happy. Bucks as the EVPs, I got to assume they have some sort of stake in the profits of AEW. They're making money off of this guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, they could make more money. I'm telling you, they could make more money. This could keep on happening. But hey, listen, right now, this is great television. This has been great wrestling. A couple of people actually, I think, what was it? A couple of people. I might have brought this up just from talking to my buddies who watch wrestling and the guys in my wrestling Discord who I talk to about wrestling constantly. I've seen it said here and there, and I like to go on this rant all the time because they really pisses me off. We're going to talk about wrestling journalism again, people. We're going to talk about wrestling journalism because it now just seems like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm very curious, actually. Now, this has nothing to do with the show. This is, I guess, just like insider stuff that I just find interesting. Because I like to take an interest in what goes on behind the scenes. Even though I am a fan of the show and the product, and I am an entertainment guy at heart, I can't help but be interested in the inner workings of what makes AEW and WWE and what makes pro wrestling. So obviously you hear the good and the bad, and when you pierce the veil and you go behind the curtain, you see what's what, Obviously, what's being portrayed on TV is not the same as real life. But I just think that wrestlers in general need to stop getting into Twitter arguments with wrestling journalists. First off, wrestling journalists, it's obviously clear they're clout chasers now. They're like the equivalent of ambulance chasers. They're going to follow any rumor. They're going to hide behind the fact that, well, it's our job to report it, and we said it was a rumor. We didn't say it was true. They say these things to spark interest, and because controversy creates cash, right? So if you think guys like Sap and guys like Dave and Brian, you don't think like they're like not making money off of this? Of course they're making money off of this. Why do you think they went behind a paywall? Because now they know the interest is so great, and they had this whole long tease for the last year or so after COVID of people watching their content. Then now people are even more interested now with Punk coming back and all this shit and the drama between them. Yeah, they're making money. Sap has had a paywall for forever. He's making money off of it too. All these podcasters are. You know what I'm talking about? So, and in my opinion, it simultaneously destroys the business because now you have wrestlers going straight. Nothing's being kept internal. Everything is on the other side of the curtain, whether you like it or not. And I just think that, maybe we should go back to some level of decorum where it's just like, oh, listen, you got a problem with the booking, you got a problem with people, then just handle it behind closed doors. Like, why the fuck are you telling Dave or any of the guys who are the sources for Fightful? You know what I mean? Like, what is the point? Are you making money off of it? Like, are these guys paying you to supply them information? Because otherwise, I don't see how supplying these guys information and seeing what they do with the information helps AEW and helps anybody. So all the stuff that was being reported about Punk and the Elite, it didn't help Punk and it didn't help the Elite. I mean, an argument could be made that, there were some things that painted both sides in another light, but no one was painted in a good light. I don't think either side was painted in a good light. So I don't know how this is supposed to be great for pro wrestling. You know what I mean? I mean, the stuff with, the WWE, it's pretty transparent at WWE. Vince runs the show. He's an asshole. We all know how he kind of books things and shit like that. So it's business as usual. It's not really a surprise to see what he's doing over there. He's been doing the same shit for the last couple of decades. But AEW was supposed to be different. You know what I mean? But then again, we've never had a company who was conceived and then born in the middle of an era where social media, information, you can find out what's going on backstage second by second. If someone's there and they got fast enough fingers and good enough Wi-Fi, you can know what's going on right away. They could stream video and it could be like it's there. So it's completely different. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the company grows with technology as it is and people using social media as a platform to kind of strong arm promoters and bookers into doing certain things. Now, granted, it has worked out for the benefit of people that I like and getting pushes that I want them to have. But, with everything, there's a double-edged sword. There's a good and a bad. There's another shoe that's going to drop. And right now, this little kind of tit-for-tat that's going on with wrestling media, which to be quite honest is, let's let me not fail to mention the media call that Tony Khan had with the wrestling media, and the questions they asked were fucking stupid. I almost want to ask, I almost want to go there and just torpedo myself and just go there and be like, hey, Tony, smells like wrestling. Quick question. Why are all these fake journalists here? And when are we going to start treating this like an actual press conference where we get some actual answers? Because all these guys just throw softballs. Again, I say there are children in the media scrums. You know what I mean? Fuck this. I'll get them out. Let's get some real questions. Let's stop making it. Let's stop making it a mix between a work and a shoot, and get some real questions answered. You know, let's find out what's really going on. Let's just have a dose of reality without this like cloak of like, but maybe it isn't. You know what I mean? I mean, like, if you wanna talk about the public perception of AEW, it really starts with how they present themselves. And every single time they present themselves in a manner where people can't tell whether or not it's a work or a fake, in a work or a shoot. In terms of the public eye, like, that's not great. You know, it's good publicity in a way because it draws attention to the show for people who know better. But for people who don't know any better, it's a bad look. What Punk did was a bad look at All Out. They should have shut the presser off immediately. And the only thing that would have made news was Punk just, or you know what, Sony should have just been like, I think you need to cool off. All right, we're going to keep on going. You know, I think just Punk's just a little agitated. Just he's not really comfortable doing the press conference now. I apologize. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they're not real journalists, Tony. You could tell them, you obviously been telling them whatever the fuck you want for a while. You could have done that. Steamrolled all of them, and what the fuck were they going to do? They're going to be like, oh, we don't want to lose our VIP passes. So it's like, that's why I have, I'm half want to go there and make everyone look like shit, and then half not want to go there, because what the fuck is the point? You know? I wouldn't want to be a wrestling journalist anyways. I like doing what I do right now. I just talk about the show. Oh, crap. I just talk about the show like a fan. You know? That's all that I am, is a fan. That allows me to say whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean? As a journalist, there are some, there's a responsibility in terms of how you provide information, what you do with information when you get it, or what information you're actually seeking. You know, are these guys purposely asking like, hey, what's the word backstage with so-and-so? Are they purposely asking for any sort of backstage gossip or drama? You know what I mean? So like, what do you, like, what's your real purpose here? If your purpose is to make money, fine, then, But you know what? It's clear that from the looks of wrestling media right now, their purpose is not the truth. Their purpose is solely to make money. We're done. We're done for tonight. Forbidden Door tomorrow should be a fucking phenomenal show. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and reactions. On the Dynamite After show on Wednesday. I actually was in the moment mulling over whether or not I wanted to tweet anything. Yes, we do have a Twitter. Yes, we do have an Instagram. Have I even divulged what those are? No, I'm not going to until they're ready to be unveiled. Right now, we just put a lock on the name, and the username for both accounts. We have to do. There's going to be a couple of changes. New logo. I'm going to update the logo, and then obviously we're still working towards creating the next phase of the podcast, which will, I believe, take us to another level and get us closer and closer to the big leagues. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Royal, are those guns? Those are guns. On like my screen, it looked like you put Texas there 5 times. But that had to have been when I was talking about the Bang Bang Gang and the Gun Club. So again, thanks Royal for being in the chat. I'll see you tomorrow, brother, for Forbidden Door. You're coming over to the crib. The same as with most of the group. Doom, who's usually in the chat, he's coming. So we should have a good time. Hopefully we don't get rained out, because my goal was I have this projector screen set up in the backyard, so we were gonna watch on a big ass projector, fire pit, chill out and watch wrestling outside. Be kind of cool, but it looks like it's gonna rain because whatever. So next week, post Dynamite show, episode 71. Tune into this YouTube channel. Tell your friends. Subscribe to the channel. So far, I repeat, this is the only way you can find out what's going on with the channel. It's through these episodes and by subscribing on YouTube. I am small potatoes. None of this gets me any money or anything like that. This is just me letting you know, if you like the show and you want to know when it comes on, the obvious, best, easy way to do it is set your YouTube app to remind you by subscribing. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I will be back on Wednesday for episode 71. You guys enjoy the weekend. Take care.